The University of Maryland Terrapins football team ends their season on a high note yet again, defeating Auburn 31-13 to finish the season 8-5. This is the official University of Maryland Terrapins football post-game show here on the Flex Zone Podcast YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, sack that subscribe button, stick that like button, leave a thumbs up, and go ahead and bulldoze that bell for all videos and Maryland football and basketball content throughout their respective seasons and off seasons. It's the official Maryland football postgame show coming to you live here in the Flex Zone right after this. Down in Music City, the Terps made wonderful football music as they defeated the Auburn Tigers 31-13 with a fabulous performance, really outlined by a wonderful start in the first quarter, going up by as much as 21-0, which we'll get into. The Maryland Terps travel down to Nashville, Music City, and get it done. Get their 8th win of the season. Whew. And these bowl games now are so unpredictable because if it's not the college football playoff, you really don't know who's going to play and who's not going to play. And it's funny because once Tagovailoa announced he wasn't playing, and then there are murmurs that he may try to get an opportunity to play even next year in the transfer portal to go to another school, it's just mind-boggling, but we'll see how that plays out. I don't know if he'll get it. Once I heard no little Tua, because that's what I call him, I didn't really think the Terps had the decisive advantage at quarterback that they had coming into this game as both rosters. Like I said, every team, the Terps, the Tigers, they both weren't at full strength. And essentially, what a game like this is for Mike Locksley and the Terps football staff and the team, it's basically a preseason game for 2024 before your spring game. Because what it's essentially doing is letting you see who's on your roster, what guys are willing to play for you, what guys have not entered the transfer portal yet, have not been on the verge of getting out of the program because you've had some losses the past 3 or 4 seasons. Let you know who's going to be where heading into next year in spring ball and what you have to work with in game situations. And I think it's important that the Terps have done this very, very well the past few years, winning these bowl games, winning these games to end the season on a high note. I think that this team has a real good shot of getting 2 double-digit wins next year. That should be the goal. Honestly, if we look back at the season, including this bowl game, they probably should have won 10 games. They should have won at least 10 games because Illinois, Northwestern, those 2 games just jump out to me as like, what the hell are y'all doing? And then they somehow did pull out that win in Nebraska when I pretty much slandered them live on the air on the Flex Zone, saying that it may be time to get Mike Locksley up out of there. Even though his contract won't allow him to, he's going to be here through at least next season. And I would say probably through at least 2025, especially after winning this bowl game. I don't think you really had any other options. And I'm willing to admit I was a prisoner of the moment. I'm willing to admit I didn't see the fight. I didn't see the effort. I didn't see the wherewithal of this team that looked like they were going to turn it around and finish 8-5. I thought they could potentially lose out. But they came back. They beat Nebraska on the road in an ugly game, and it saved their season. And I got to give Locksley a lot of credit. He had these guys coached up. He had these guys ready to play, despite all the outside noise and all the just negativity surrounding this team in the second half after some critical losses. it was great job on his part. And I think it shows that he is a leader of men and a guy that is trying to turn this program around. It's not all on him because now there are multiple things that play a factor into college football. First and foremost is the transfer portal. Guys are leaving left and right. It's basically free agency. Guys are going to other schools. Guys are getting opportunities to play in places we never thought because of things like the next thing, the NIL, name, image, likeness deal. Guys can get paid off their name, image, and likeness, jersey sales, autographs, using them to sponsor and partner with brands, be brand ambassadors, be in commercials. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And then obviously it's recruiting third because you still have to recruit. You still have to bring in the guys that if they do eventually leave, like the Terps have done, they brought in some guys. Do they get the 5 stars like Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, USC, Oklahoma? Who else you want to name? Do they even get guys like, oh, Michigan, can't forget Michigan. Do they even get guys as good as Michigan State gets? You know what I mean? Even with all the turmoil they're going through. Do they get, I guess they do a little bit better than Illinois. I know they do better than Northwestern. They do better than Indiana in football, but this move to the Big Ten is interesting. They finished with the same record last year, 8-5. 7-6 the year before that. And the shortened 2020 season, they were 2-3, but 7-6. I'm looking at the last 3 years, 7-6, 8-5, and then 8-5. Like I said, this season, looking at the schedule that they had, I really thought this team they started out pretty good. I mean, they did start out. What did they start out? 4-0, 5-0. They were 5-0 before losing to the Ohio State. Then they lost to Illinois, Northwestern, got blew out by Penn State, but they beat Nebraska, had a great showing against Michigan, blew out Rutgers, and beat Auburn today. Like I said, I really think that Locksley has to get some credit. And I wanna shout out to this team because 2024 is gonna be very, very interesting, which I'll get into a little bit later. But let's talk about this game first. With no Tua, as I mentioned, as I got off on my tangent, you had Billy Edwards come in. And Billy Edwards is a little bit more of a mobile running quarterback than Tua is. He's nowhere near the passer, and you'll see that here today. Billy Edwards was 6 of 20 for only 126 yards, 6.3 an attempt, 1 touchdown. And as a team, because we had Cameron Edge get some look as well, 4 for 6, 82 yards, 1 touchdown. He did throw a terrible interception. And as a team, 10 for 26, 208 yards, 8 yards, an attempt, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. But Edwards did have 13 carries for 50 yards with a touchdown. Hemby, 7 carries for 17 yards. Kobe McDonald, 6 carries for 23 yards. Ty Felton, 1 for 16. If it's one thing that Maryland football does well consistently year in and year out, and I give Locksley and his staff credit continuing that, they get some decent running backs. Hemby, McDonald, they got some good running backs. They usually have about 3 or 4 deep running backs in their running back room that are decent, pretty solid backs. I actually wish Hemby and McDonald would get the ball more. You know what I mean? Both of them to get double digit carries because I think McDonald is a guy who has some upside and he is a junior, so he'll be a senior next year. And I think Hemby, if he stays, which it looks like he is, he's only a sophomore, so he'll be a junior. And he's a Maryland guy as well, 2 Maryland guys in the backfield that are doing well. So looking into next year, McDonald and Hemby, McDonald, however that shakes out, giving them both 10 to 12 carries apiece and really dominating at the point of attack, running the football will be very, very, very good. Hemby had a 61-yard reception. Prather had 1 for 57. Jay Jones, 3 for 43. Jay Jones is a guy that's intriguing. He's a senior. I don't know if he's going to play at the next level, but kind of expect a little more from him this season. And I'll be intrigued to see how the wide receiver room looks for the Maryland Terps next year as well. But offensively, I mean, this game started because it was a 21-0 lead. The first quarter was the separation in the game because if you take away that first quarter, Auburn wins the game 13-10. So looking back at it, you had the Billy Edwards touchdown run for 2 yards, scored on the first drive. Then Edwards passed to Howard for 5 yards, and then Edge comes in and passes to Wade for 3 yards. At this point, the Maryland offense was as hot as it's been all season, and they were up 21-0. While I did not feel the game was over, and I feel like this lead was not safe with Maryland, as we kind of saw because Auburn, sloppy and as bad as they played, Maryland never really put them away. Like I said, if you take away this first quarter and you go through the rest of the game, Auburn wins 13-10. Obviously, it seems like Maryland took their foot off the gas. It is what it is. We had Thorne pass to Frazier. We had the Holes field goal. I'm intrigued in the kicking situation as well for Maryland next year. Also, just thinking of these position battles and positions that are wide open. But Chad Rowland now in New England. Holes, I don't know if he's going to be the guy. Let's see how the kicking situation plans out. The interception return by Miller was fantastic. I believe it was the first pick six for the Terps in 5 years, and it was the first defensive touchdown they've had all season out of the 16 interceptions that they had. And I think a nice takeaway from the season has been the play of the Maryland defense. The Maryland defense really never got torched a lot this season. The most points they gave up was to the Ohio State, which was 37, in a game that Maryland was very much in, leading at halftime. This defense, I think, has some players. I think this defense has some guys who can ball, who really can really play well. And I think they really have to look at the roster to continue to, I think, with the teams they're going to have to play in 2024, USC, Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. You got to be able to stop these guys at the same time. I know you got to be able to score, but you have to be able to get stops on defense as well. And I really think this defense was very underrated. As much as we want to talk about the offensive numbers and Tua being the prolific passer he was, breaking all types of records in the Big Ten and Maryland football, I think the defense, if they can continue to be physically dominant on defense, I think what they need to add is with Jay Sean Barnum going to transfer, the linebacking core, I'm intrigued to see what they do. And I would like to see them get some guys up front who can rush the passer as well. If this team could get a little more pressure on the quarterback, I think it would help out the guys on the back end because Maryland, I think they do very well with running backs. I would say running backs, tight ends, because Chiggy down in Tennessee is doing well. Running backs, tight ends, and on defense, the corners and safeties, the defensive backs. Darnell Savages, guys like that. Tay Banks got drafted last year, Jacorian Bennett. So they have good corners as well. But I like to see them continue to get guys who can rush the passer and get after these offenses. And I really just think this team has to take the next step. But with that saying, uh, with that being said, their schedule next year is pretty brutal. Um, we know USC, Oregon, UCLA coming to the Big Ten. It's going to be intriguing to see what happens because they start out with UConn on August 31st. Then have a Michigan State. What is Michigan State going to look like? That is a game that is going to be very interesting for both teams. But right now, I guess the Maryland Terps should be favored. Virginia, September 14th, they should win that. Villanova, September 21st. Away against Indiana, the 28th of September. Then they go to Northwestern, October 12th. They have them at home this year. USC comes to College Park, October 19th. That'll be a nice game to go to. Go to Minnesota, October 26th. Then you go to Oregon, all the way out to Oregon on November 9th. Rutgers, November 16th. Iowa, November 23rd. And then Penn State, November 30th. So actually next year, I misspoke. You have no Ohio State, no Michigan. I think it'll be an every other year thing where they'll play those guys. But take out Michigan and Ohio State and substitute in USC. I know Caleb Williams is leaving, but Lincoln Riley is still there. You know he's going to bring in another quarterback who's capable of winning a Heisman and put up a lot of points and not stop anybody on defense. Then you look at the next part. Oregon. I think Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma just transferred there. You put him in the Oregon offense, and the Terps have to travel to Oregon. Jesus Christ. I could see that being a puffy pants hammer time game by halftime. Because you play Oregon, then you got to play Rutgers. And Rutgers has a better recruiting class than Maryland football. They're doing a good job up there. Greg Schiano and that crew. They probably could have beat Maryland this year, but they didn't show up the last couple games. But Rutgers is going to be a team on the rise in the Big Ten. I'm intrigued to see how they look in 2024. As I mentioned, they had a really good recruiting class. But that's a brutal end to the season. I mean, like I said, UConn win. Michigan State, I'll give us a win. That's at home. Virginia on the road win. Villanova at home win. Indiana should be a win. This is football, not basketball. Northwestern, we should get our lick back. That should be 6 wins right there. USC at home lost 6-1. Minnesota on the road should be a win, 7-1. On the road against Oregon, 7-2. Home against Rutgers. I'm gonna say 8-2. Home against Iowa, 8-3. Then you go against Penn State on the road. That's 8-4. In the way Maryland slips up every year, where they lose a game or two that they're supposed to win and win a game or two that they're probably supposed to lose. That 8-4 could turn to 7-5 real quick, and then they could be in another Mayo Bowl, Duke's Mayo Bowl, or Music City Bowl, where they're going to finish 8-5 yet again for the third straight year. I think they need to get to that 8-4 record with the chance to go 9-4 with a bowl game win. But as I mentioned, no easy games there. Like I said, it's going to be a couple games where I think they could win, but they might end up losing. There might be a couple that they could hopefully play better. And who knows? USC coming here, USC could have a down year next year. They could get got on that Saturday coming east. West East is always tough. Maryland going to Oregon, no chance in hell they win that game. I'm just being honest. They might get beat 45-20. I'm calling it now. But got to give Mike Locksley, his team, credit. I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do in the coaching staff, any changes to get to 8-5 again, win another bowl game. I think Locksley is 3-0 in bowl games now. He's doing his thing, and I really think he's the guy that hopefully can lead this team to double-digit wins. I mean, that's the next step, I think. I think it's very important that the football team continue. I mean, the recruiting class isn't great. The NIL money isn't flowing like it should be. Like I said, Scott Van Pelt, get him on the phone. Kevin Plank, get him on the phone. There are boosters and guys all throughout the DMV corridor that have funds that can help you get some of the guys you need on this football team. I think it's very, very important. I think it's very, very essential that the recruiting gets better. But Maryland never makes it easy. I mean, like I said, they started out 21-0. Pretty much lose the rest of the game 13-10. Offense never really found a rhythm. And that's Maryland football. And you see what the loss of Tua is going to really mean for this team, because the biggest key and the biggest question mark going into next year is going to be the quarterback position. As I mentioned, they have the 46th ranked recruiting class and 42nd ranked transfer class. So it's really nothing to write home about. It's really nothing to be excited about, but they do have, like I said, some guys that are hopefully coming in. Like I said, the biggest question is going to be the quarterback position, and it's really essential that it shows. I do like Billy Edwards. I've liked him, what I've seen of him in spurts, but him having to play an entire game, and you can see when teams force them to pass or they're in obvious passing situations. While he did battle some drops, there are at least 3 or 4 drops I've seen the Terps receivers make. His accuracy, he has a strong arm, big time arm, but his accuracy on the layups isn't that great. And sometimes he locks onto receivers, so he makes a lot of dangerous throws. But he's a big quarterback that can move, he can run, that type of offense, if that's what you want to do, Mike Locksley, but I think he's limited as a passer. MJ Morris, and I was trying to get his name in my mind while I was thinking, but I wanted to touch on Edwards. I actually do like Edwards. I think MJ Morris is the guy. He was throwing one at NC State this year. He is a sophomore, and he has 3 more years of eligibility. So he will be with us for the next 3 years. He is, I think, a guy that's progressively getting better, a guy that is progressively evolving. And he started as a backup last year, and he did play in a red shirt, but they put him in after the starter was struggling, Brennan Armstrong, after week 6, and he started 4 games, and then he opted out to preserve his red shirt. He still has 3 years of eligibility remaining, as I mentioned, so he has junior, senior, and an extra red shirt year. He played as a true freshman after Devin Leary went out with injury, and he has 1,367 yards with 14 touchdowns and 6 picks, completing 57.8% of his passes at NC State. And as I mentioned, he's a guy who is improving as a passer, I think. He is 6'2", he has good size. He's still, I think, young, still learning the position at the college level. It will be an uptick in competition coming from the ACC to the Big Ten, but I think he will have the weaponry around him. He'll be under the right coach with Mike Locksley and the offensive guys he has. If they bring back Kevin Summerlin or some of the other guys on the staff to really develop and be the guy of the future. I think he can be a guy who can maybe run a little bit more than Tua. I think he can be a guy who has the ability to give you that dual threat capability as a quarterback. He rushed for, what did he rush for this year? He rushed for, he's not a big time runner, actually. I thought he was. He rushed for 88 yards in 2022 and only 15 yards this season. So he's not really much of a runner. So I guess he's going to be kind of like another Tua, where he's going to just come in. He's going to be more of a primary pocket passer. I think that's why it's essential that the Terps do a good job of building the offensive line. As I mentioned, the trenches, games are won and lost in the trenches. I'd like to see them beef up the offensive line, beef up the defensive line, add a pass rusher or two, and continue that way. Because, like I said, I think the defense today was fantastic. But I'm excited. They got to 8-5. I didn't really have them in my heart winning this game, but like I said, it's a crapshoot with these bowl games. That's not the college football playoff because you don't know who's playing, you don't know who's opting out, you don't know who's being benched. You don't know. There's a lot of dumb things that go on with the goofiness of college football now. And guys are smart for doing it. They don't want to get hurt. They don't want to hurt their opportunities to get drafted and get the big time contracts and opportunities at the next level. And I get it. And I get it. So I mean, Maryland had 310 total yards. Auburn had 300, but 4 turnovers were definitely the key. They actually had more first downs than Maryland, 20-15, but 4 turnovers to 1 for Maryland. Maryland wins the turnover battle +3, and they lost time of possession. Did Maryland? They lose time of possession, but when you turn the ball over and you give this team opportunities, they were up 21-0. It was pretty much curtains after that because Auburn didn't have their starting quarterback. They couldn't make big time plays offensively. They were pretty much limited. And I thought that was a key for the Terps to win. If they can make Auburn one-dimensional, stop the run, make them have to throw the ball more than they would like to, put them in 3rd and long. The defense, I think, while the defense may bend a little bit, they don't break completely. And they did a good job today not breaking and getting turnovers, forcing takeaways for this Maryland offense, giving them the opportunity to have short fields and favorable field position as well. But Maryland, you got to continue to hopefully, like I said, hopefully MJ Morris steps in and does his thing. But if he struggles, don't be surprised if there's a chance that Billy Edwards starts the first couple of games, just until Morris gets what he needs to get right. But I think that wouldn't be a great sign if MJ Morris isn't starting because he's a better passer than Edwards. Not the runner, but he's a better passer. I think with Locksley's coaching ability and ability to put the weapons around him and put the scheme that works for him, I think he'll be a guy that can. He has 3 years, guys. So I don't know if year one is going to set the world on fire, but I think it could be a nice year where he can learn and get better throughout the year. And as I mentioned, it's not going to be an easy schedule. Then when they get back to playing Michigan, the Ohio States in 2025, they're hopefully built the roster up a little bit more and that they can compete and win one of those games. And then they can really try to be a perennial top 25 team and get into a New Year's Six Bowl one day. Is that too much to ask? Maybe play in a Big Ten title game? But that would mean they would have to go through a lot of they would have to go undefeated, which I don't know if they will ever be able to do. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are feeling with Maryland football. They win today, improve to 8-5. And let me know what type of content you guys want to see from Maryland football. Get into the 2024 at USC. We have Oregon next year. On the schedule 2024 with those teams moving to the Big Ten. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new. Let me know if you love the Maryland content. I've been talking to you for almost 30 minutes about Maryland football. But it's good when they win. Finish the season 8-5 for the second straight year. Mike Locksley 3-0 in bowl games. And Maryland, a win is a win is a win. You win with the guys you got. As I mentioned, this is like a playoff game. This is not a playoff game. This is like a preseason game where you kind of see what you're working with heading into 2024. And spring ball will be here before you know it. We'll be talking about the Maryland spring game as well. But let me know what other types of Maryland football or basketball content you want as we move into tournament play with basketball. You'll see some more Maryland basketball post-game shows and videos and things like that. Let me know if you want to see some recruiting profiles on the MJ Morris, on some of the other guys that they bought in recruiting-wise. Maryland basketball, we're still waiting on Derek Queen. Once we get news on that, I'll try to break news and do video on that. As Kevin Willard has no official commits for the 2024 recruiting class, which I'm not going to panic on yet, because guys are going to transfer and move around in NIL deals. And I think Derek Queen is going to be a Terp between the Terps and Indiana, but I think he's going to be a Terp, especially with Young and some of the other guys that'll be leaving after this year. But we'll see. But Maryland football wins yet again. Locksley leads his team to 8-5. It's kind of a season of what if, though, because it's just what if they would have beat Northwestern? What if they would have beat Illinois? Could have had 10 wins right now. Could have been 9-4. Hopefully next year they could at least take a step to double-digit wins. Maybe at least 9 in a regular season and then win the bowl game. Get to 10-4. We'll see. Or 10-3, excuse me. That'll be a 2-win improvement. Yeah, but 9-4. Oh well, yeah. They can get to 9-4, 10-4. Yeah, 10-4. They can get to 10-4 next year. 2-win improvement. Go 9-4 in the regular season. We'll see. I'm rambling, guys. I appreciate the content. I'm a Maryland football fan. I'm an Orioles fan. I'm a Ravens fan. We do content for all those teams on the channel. Make sure you hit that bell. We will be recapping and having a post-game show Monday for New Year's Day. The college football playoff. Michigan versus Alabama at 5. Texas taking on Washington at 8:45. We will have a post-game show following those games, discussing what happened, what went right, what went wrong, how we saw the game, good, bad, and ugly, and looking ahead and previewing the national championship game a week from this Monday. The Flex Zone Podcast has been a great 2023. We'll be live for our final live stream, wrestling live stream of 2023. We'll be live streaming AEW Worlds End tonight. If you're into that pro wrestling type of stuff, that type of content, we'll be recapping it tonight, live streaming and watching it with you, and talking about it here on the Flex Zone Podcast. Only place giving you sports how you want it when you need it. Baltimore Ravens fans will be live tomorrow. Baltimore Ravens, Miami Dolphins. Ravens win, clinch number 1 seed throughout the AFC playoffs, and win the AFC North. We'll be live. Big show tomorrow. Big post-game show for the Ravens. I'm predicting the Ravens win. Should be a good weekend for Baltimore, Maryland sports. And Orioles content. I got your Orioles content. Stay tuned. We'll wait for the Orioles to percolate a little more, make some moves, and then we'll get more content out as we head into spring training. Really only, 2 months away? Crazy to think about. As we're about to be in 2024. But I appreciate all the love and content. love for the content this year. Appreciate the support. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. Let me know what type of Maryland sports or Maryland football, basketball videos you guys want to see. I'll do it for you. More content. I do some recruiting profiles, as I mentioned, on MJ Morris and others that jump out to me. And for basketball with Derek Queen, hopefully announcing his decision in the new year. God's favorite host signing off. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. Maryland wins the Music City Bowl in Nashville. Let's party on and play that guitar as they defeat Auburn and War Eagle 31-13. Finish the season 8-5, third straight bowl win. Mike Locksley, great job. I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Let's get to 10 wins next year. We'll be back with more here on the Flex On Podcast. Thank you for watching the Maryland Postgame Show here on the Flex On. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you for AEW tonight, Ravens Postgame Show tomorrow, and college football playoff and Raw Day 1 recap Monday night to start your new year off right here on the Flex On Podcast. Have a good night, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Peace. We gone.